Okay. I think we're live. Let
I
me. Okay. Monique, we have Monique Darling with us today as we start our broadcast for Evolve Love Connections. Monique is, I'm so excited to have her on here. I get to actually go see her tomorrow.
Yay.
Yay! This is Monique Darling. Monique is a facilitator extraordinaire. She wrote the book Beyond Cuddle Party. She is just got the hugest heart you've ever met. She wraps everyone up she meets in just this love bubble. And she just wants everyone to really live life with joy and passion. So I have had I've known Monique for a couple of years now, and I've done some really beautiful trainings with her. I've also had her come to the Pleasure Palace and do week-long dives with us here with a variety of beautiful workshops, and just she is a community builder like we are. She just resonates with everything that we hold sacred, and we are really blessed to have her here today. So Monique, welcome.
Thank you, Deb.
Yes, tell us about Monique.
Well, first, I just want to offer my extreme gratitude to you, Debbie, for all of the community building that you do. I saw the behind the scenes of all the hard work that you've done to create this community, this group, and like your mission and focus on life is to help people really fall in love with themselves. And I just so commend you on that. And I see the world changing. I see so many people in our world changing because of you. And so thank you for being that human.
Thank you for being that kind of human too. Yay. Thank you.
Well, for my journey, then it started with everyone around me, my parents, my family, my teachers, my church, everyone telling me that I was totally unlovable and that everything was wrong about me, that I was supposed to fit into this little box that I did not fit into at all. I was super curious, especially around sexuality. I was asking so many questions. Everything was, but how come? Why? I wanted to get to the bottom of everything. And at the same time, then I was having all these experiences. I was seeing things and hearing things and feeling like my senses were wide open. And I remember going to my mom one day and saying, hey, I think that there's something wrong with Benny. Like, I don't know that he's going to be on this planet very much longer. And this is when I was like 5 or 6 years old, and he passed away 2 days later. And then everybody got afraid of me. And so then I started trying to hide, and I started trying to shrink, and started trying to get in and pretend to be normal. Like, there was a long part of my life where, if you've seen Dexter, the TV series, he tries to be normal and he just looks at everybody else. And I felt like that was so much of my life. And then I was having this other experience behind the scenes where I could talk to fairies, and spirit guides were coming to visit me and the trees were whispering to me. My body just felt so amazing. And so it was so discombobulating, and I felt really torn a lot, and then really, like, to the core of my being, felt like if people ever saw who I was, they couldn't possibly love me. And that it was really hard as a child, as a teenager, as a young mom. And so I started dedicating my life into helping everybody else. And I'm like, oh, well, if I can feel everything, then I know what other people need. I had no idea what I wanted because I never gave myself permission to look into that. But I was the best. I was a manager of Taco Bell when I was 16 years old, of a telemarketing company when I was 18. Like, everybody wanted me to manage everything. I had 3 beautiful boys. I had the outside appearances looked like that I was the most lovable, amazing human ever. But inside, I still felt like there was so much missing. And I often cried myself to sleep in the bathroom because I didn't want people to see me crying. And so when I came upon Cuddle Party, which was my gateway, then I remember that first like day when I walked up and I see Cuddle Party, and I knew instantly that it was a place I needed to go to. And so my husband and boys drove me to Vegas because it was a couple of hours from where we lived. And they walked me up to the door and they're like, okay, see you later, Mom. See you later, Monique. And I'm in these pink flannel pajamas. And the Cuddle Party founder opens up the door and he's like, can I give you a hug? This has now become one of my dear friends and lovers, Reed Mahauko. But he's just this gregarious, so joyful filled human. And I hesitated. Like, I'm just looking at this person. There was so much happening inside of me that I couldn't get any words out. And he's like, oh, okay, that's hesitation. Thank you for taking care of yourself. And it wasn't until months later that I recognized that that was the first time in my life that anyone had given me any sort of voice or permission to use my voice, consent around being touched. And someone that had a lot of sexual and emotional and physical abuse, that was a huge, huge opening for me, that there was, and in that moment, then there was a tiny bit of space for me, but I felt it and something started liberating inside of me and I wanted to claim more and more space.
That just resonates with so many people out there. They're shut down. They're told to be small. They're told that they don't belong. And so they hide in that shell. And then they live there. So thank you for being brave and for stepping out there and taking action to really get what you wanted. So I'm curious, how did it evolve from there? What was this process? How many years are we talking about? What are the other steps that you went through?
Well, this was now 14 years ago. So it's almost, that's 2 decades. Like, I'm just like, this is a decade and a half. This is crazy because it feels like yesterday in so many ways. But I continued going back to Cuddle Parties. And about a year later, then I became a Cuddle Party facilitator. And since that time, then I facilitated more Cuddle Parties than all the other Cuddle Party facilitators combined around the world. So
can you, for the people that don't know what a Cuddle Party is, can you talk about that for a little bit?
So cuddle parties are a place where you come together and you get to recognize boundaries and you get to use your voice, especially around touch. And they're completely non-sexual. And so many people have collapsed sexuality with touch that it's been really hard for them to even be able to start considering, well, what do I want? Do I want to spoon? Do I want a massage? Like, there's so much in their head of, what does this mean? If I let someone caress my cheek, then they're going to think I'm easy. They're going to think I want to go to bed with them. And so the genius of Cuddle Party is they take sexuality completely off the table. Like you stay clothed the entire time. And then there's rules, which I later wrote a book on, that are rules you can live your life by. And so there are these 11 simple rules that just help you start reclaiming your space. And so like one rule alone is, if you're a yes, say yes. And if you're a no, say no. And it's so simple. Like, you hear it, that sounds really easy, huh?
It does sound easy, but it's not easy because nobody likes to say no. And really, it's hard to say no. So really finding that boundary is, I mean, it's just in the last couple of years since I've met you, I really have learned my no.
Congratulations.
And yes. And I actually learned it last year at a workshop with you.
Yay.
Yeah. And it just felt so good. I mean, somebody pointed it out. They said, Debbie, you said no. You found your no. And I go, and it's a hell no. And it all revolved around, they wanted me to gift a piece of clothing to somebody else at the workshop. It's like, nope, that's mine.
Oh,
But it felt so good to just own it rather than make excuses for it. Yeah.
because society tells us no is a bad word and we don't want to hurt people's feelings. But I'm sure all of you that are listening, and Debbie, you can resonate, that there's people in your life that say yes to something, and then halfway into that activity, you realize they don't really want to be there. And that feels horrible. Like, that's the unkind thing to do, is say yes when you're really a no. Right. So you start recognizing, no's the greatest gift that I can offer someone, because in that moment that they can trust your no, that's the moment they can begin trusting your yes.
Yeah.
And then the underlying factor is the moment you can trust your own no is the moment that the whole world opens up to you. Because if you can say no, that means you can start imagining and stepping into all the ways that you're a yes. And that's just one of the 11 rules. So you can see, like,
So
the
what are
main.
some of the other ones?
Well, there, if you're a maybe, say no, like that,
Mhm.
where we're like, oh, let's just pat our no, let's make a joke, let's say maybe, and then guess what? People come back, they try and fix it. You're like, oh, maybe, maybe later, and then they come over 2 minutes later, and they're like, okay, how about now? Can I give you a massage now? And the guy's like, or the
Ah,
person like, maybe later, because they still can't find that no. So now the person's sitting there waiting because they want to give this massage, but they're also looking around the room at all the other things people are doing, and they're missing out. So there's pressure on you as the person that said maybe, because the person's waiting on you. And then the person, it's no fun. So when you can just say no, but puts closure on that request, so the person's free to go find someone that's just equally excited to receive what they want to offer, and it gives you time to figure out what it is that you want.
right, right, right. That's a beautiful thing.
Mm.
So these cuddle parties just really gave you the touch that you wanted, the acceptance that you wanted, and without involving sexuality at all. It was just human contact and
Right.
acceptance for who you are as a person.
Mm.
What a beautiful gift that is. What a beautiful gift. And tell me, how are these parties? Are they common? Are they everywhere? Are they in most cities? Can people access these?
You can go to the website cuddleparty.com, and there are almost 200 facilitators around the world. So they are happening often. And so it's just going and looking, where's one near me? And you can also, I have a lot of friends that have bought my book and gone through and started embodying the rules and started creating like their own cuddle puddles, cuddle jams, cuddle, and creating these spaces where you can use the rules to create safe non-sexual spaces with other people. So there's so many ways that you can just start practicing asking for what you want and saying no to everything else, and then just start getting those reference points in your body. Oh, this is a yes, this is a no, this is a maybe. So for right now, I'm going to treat that as a no unless I get to that point of yes. And like the other rule that I really, really loved, because as a human that feels so much and felt like I was always too much, one of the rules is all of your emotions are welcome. And tears, laughter, anger. Like anger was really scary for me because I never knew what was going to happen when the people, like my caregivers and people that I should trust to be safe around, when they get angry, they were not safe. And so anger was not safe for me at all. And especially my own anger. So it was repressed. And so then anger would come out sideways in my life. And I'm like, well, I'm not angry. And so it'd be passive aggressive and all kinds of other crazy things, which I have so much compassion for myself now. But being able to allow those emotions to exist and cry in front of people and recognize what a gift that is, because they have permission to cry too. And the more vulnerable we are, then the more that we really get to have give that permission and have those deep, depthful experiences with one another.
I completely agree. Vulnerability is essential to really having any deep relationship. And so many of us put up these walls. Um, it's sad, because they're really not accessing the breadth of what they can access when they open their heart and open vulnerable questions to each other, really sink into deep communication. It enlivens everything. Yeah. Yeah.
And one thing a lot of people don't recognize on the pathway of self-love, on the pathway of relationship love, even like unconditional child love and teacher love, is that when you're on that path and you're like, okay, I'm open to love, guess what's going to show up?
Love
Everything.
shows up.
So you get to find those places where you're ashamed, where you feel unlovable, where things are coming out sideways. Like everything that's in the way of love is going to show up and offer you a redo or an invitation to think of it differently or to open more to love. And so there's a lot along the path that you're just like, wait, but I just want to love everybody. I just want all of this. And then all the ways that you're blocking yourself, that you're not willing to be vulnerable, that you're not willing to allow someone else in, they're going to show up, so that it's giving you an opportunity to say, oh, okay, I am choosing love and I want to receive. I want to be able to offer the love that's brimming to come outside of me.
So what tools can you offer listeners and how to shift those stuck patterns and how to actually move that out of your body? Because I mean, it just gets stuck in your body.
So the tools like to help move it are find an activity that really works for you, or a couple of them, whether it's hiking in nature, swimming, roller skating, bubble baths, like sitting with a friend, yelling into a pillow, like really finding ways that you can start the emotions flowing and start that energy. Because so many of us as children were not allowed to feel our emotions fully, so they got stuck in our bodies. And so it's say that a dear friend passes away, and so all of this grief comes up. Yes, there's grief for this friend because you really loved your experiences you had together, but it will also give you access to all the other grief in your life that you weren't able to experience it. So if you feel rage coming up, then instead of like, oh no, I'm so afraid I'm going to lose control and I'm going to destroy the world, or like, which I've heard many times from people, whatever those emotions are, you're like, okay, well, what if I just felt all the anger right now? And there comes a point when you feel any emotion as fully as you can in that moment, that then it shifts, because our emotions just want to be felt. So it's okay, here's the in, whatever it is, whether you're walking in nature, you're with a beloved, you're somebody passes away, like, so it's your surprise birthday party and all of these things come in and you're just like, oh, I'm ashamed, I'm small, like whatever is happening, you're just like, oh, okay. So what if I am unlovable? What if everybody in this room is just pretending? What if they really knew? And so like you go to the end of whatever it is that you're afraid of and you're pushing away, and just say, okay, so what? And then you can actually start feeling what's real. And I've had experiences, and I would go through things of talking to my friends and just saying, I know that you're all here to love me, but I don't feel like that any of you could possibly ever love me if you really saw me. And so practice was beginning to write out the things that I felt unlovable about, first to beloveds and then on Facebook. Like Facebook became this huge revelation for me of just writing the things that I was the most scared for anybody to see. And some people left, some people were afraid, and that's okay too. That's a gift. They're just saying no.
Right. Everyone's a choice, right? Yeah. But I love your expression, and you have made a difference in so many people's lives. So and I love you so much. So tell us where it went after Cuddle Parties.
So my dear facilitator friend that started Cuddle Parties, Reed Mahalko, he's like, Monique, I think that you would like Tantra. And so I happened to be going to Comic-Con because my whole family are geeks, and it was in San Diego. And so he's like, take a day off and come over to this workshop that I'm doing with Kamala Devi on free love. And so I go show up, I take a day off, send my husband and the kids to Comic-Con without me. And I just start having these experiences of seeing people that like just walk through the door with all forms of expression, with colored hair, with all these different sexy clothes. And like nobody cared. Nobody was trying to be normal. They were all being celebrated for being these unique, beautiful beings. And one of the people that I met during some of those first visits was Sean Roop, that later became my amazing Tantra teacher and beloved in my life. And he's like, Monique, we started talking about Tantra, and that Tantra is a path of yes in your life. And later for me, as I went on the tantric path, I realized my definition of Tantra is the path or art of falling in love with yourself. And it so resonated. It felt like I was coming home. I'm like, here's the thing I've looked for my whole life. And at that time, I was terrified of going on airplanes. And so I hadn't been on an airplane since I was 7 years old. And so I working in a supplement store and in a movie theater. And I was homeschooling. I would do homeschooling, do all the work stuff. And then 1 week out of the month, I would drive to San Diego and I would do cuddle parties. Kamala Devi was doing Tantra theater, where like people were having these tantric awakenings and sharing their most vulnerable moments, especially around sexuality, on the stage. And I was helping behind the scenes. And so little by little, there were these pieces that just started opening and expressing. And I found out about polyamory or open relating. And I'm like, oh, I used to talk to my husband about going to Nevada because there was a place called the Ranch and there was all these sexual things on the menu. And I'm like, honey. And he's like, what are you talking about? And this whole group celebrated. They're like, hey, go out with this lover tonight and this lover. And I'm like, is this real? And then at the same time, then because of all of the sexual abuse and the things that had happened when I was younger, then I had pain with any type of penetration, like whether it was fingers, whether like sex itself. I had sex because I wanted to connect and I wanted to have children. And I'm so grateful for my boys, but it was really painful. And along the tantric path, then I found tantric massage and these beautiful ways, especially of yoni massage, of feeling those unfelt emotions, of the unfelt trauma, of all the things that were trapped there in my yoni, which is, our tantric for vagina, vulva, and was able to actually find pleasure in my own body. And that was where I found my in, because I love cuddle parties, but the direct in for me was I want to work with women, helping them reclaim their body and their pleasure for the rest of my life.
Wow. So trauma, I know this because I've done work with you, but trauma stored in your yoni or in your vagina, in your womb space.
Because it's organ.
Yes.
That's our place and that's where it goes.
It's amazing because I did work for 10 years with women's circles, women's groups, women's empowerment, and they never touched on that subject. And I personally had some big healing around that with you. And it's just amazing to me that this isn't more mainstream.
I agree. I wish it was. I wish they offered that in sex ed at school and that we could offer these beautiful circles and these women identified circles around the world and let people feel that you can reclaim your body at any moment and be able, because pleasure's our birthright. Like it's the pain and all the things that's covering it up are there because that's what society and rules and regulations and what everyone else has placed on our bodies. When we're born, we have full access to pleasure. So if you can, that's just one of the most beautiful gifts of starting to fall in love with yourself, is that you don't want to just go through the world surviving. You don't want to go through the world just showing up, oh, I'm going to be with people because then they love me, or whatever the excuses that we make that we're compromising. And you don't want to compromise. You want to just keep waking up. All of us in our circles are like, how does it get even better?
And it just gets better. It just gets better. I heard an interesting fact the other day, and there is only one part of the human body that never ages, and that is the clitoris.
Beautiful.
I thought you'd like that. And really, pleasure is our birthright.
It is.
It is. And thank you for bringing this to light for so many people. So tell us about your exploits once you got involved in Tantra.
Well, I was determined to bring my family with me. And so I went at a really slow pace and would just go show up and help behind the scenes and would run energy. Like I found out there's energy sex. And that's one of my favorite courses now to teach and share around the world.
So tell people what running energy is, because people have no clue what that might be.
So there's being able to access the energy that's all around us. And every single one of us can tap into energy in different ways. For me, it's definitely a feeling. Other people smell it, taste it, see it, hear it. And so it's just allowing all the energy that wants to move through you to making more space. So you're like, okay, let's feel. And you can start again by standing up to a tree, sitting on rocks, going to the forest, the mountains, the ocean. Like, where are the places in nature that you most resonate with? And then if you're just quiet and you're in those places, you can start noticing in that silence, when everything else is like all the buildings and all the people and the needs are quieted, then you can start feeling that energy flow through you. And where I like to play is recognizing that we all have penetrative or active energy, and we all have receptive energy, that we're able to be penetrated by everything around us with our clothes on. And
Yeah.
so there's a beautiful place of being able to sit in front of another human being, and we're totally making love, but it's with your clothes on. And it's just this amazing experience of communion, of feeling that energy flow back and forth, and feeling great amounts of pleasure and closeness. And but that was within my relationship agreements, and so it was perfect because I was getting all of this filled upness and feeling this closeness with other people without being physically sexual. And then eventually, then my husband's like, okay, we're ready. And so I had my first lover, and that turned into two lovers. And after a year, then I had six lovers. And after 2 years, I had eight lovers around the world. And many of them are still my lovers to this day. And many, many playmates, and just trying out on all the things that I missed out on. I remember going and running a play party, which cuddle parties are non-sexual. And the way that I run play parties are just like cuddle parties, except for sex can be included. So there's still this container, there's still all the rules, but you can play. And I went to this play party out in Chicago, and so many people were coming in from surrounding states and bringing boxes filled with toys. And they just got to experiment. And there came a point where I felt like, wow, I didn't miss out on anything. There were so many years I'm just like, oh, I didn't even masturbate till I was 34. I didn't even know what an orgasm was. Like all these things that I'd had two lovers at that point that both were my husbands. And then it's just like, there was so much inside of me that's like, oh, everyone got to do all these things I didn't. And so whatever age you are, however, wherever you're listening to me, you did not miss out. There's so much available for you, and you can just start tiptoeing in at your own pace and start finding, ooh, I love that. I don't want that. Ooh, let's try that. Let's do it this way. And you can have a beautiful, loving relationship with one person that you're with, or you can try multiple people and see where's your fit, what works for you. But in any configuration, you can start allowing more pleasure and more curiosity as to what else you would like to have around sexuality, around sensuality, around like, how can I love myself and my body even more?
Mhm. And giving yourself permission to do so,
Mm.
and communication is just key. Being able to talk about your wants, needs, and desires with all your partners, and really have those vulnerable, intimate conversations that allow everyone to get what they want out of it. Yeah. Yeah. So then you started going off and teaching and going around the world. So tell us a little bit about your travels and some of the fun things that you've been creating.
Well, definitely one of the most important points that like have touched my heart is I was invited. A woman came to one of my play parties in San Diego, and she's from China. And she's like, hey, I've been bringing teachers over to China for underground tantra things because it's illegal for a long time. And we had someone that just called sick, and we need somebody in 6 weeks. And so I'm like, yes, I will come, but my partner's going to come because he plays the music and holds the behind the scenes. And so it was the first time they allowed a male presence in the room. And so they flew over, and over the course of the next year and a half, then I flew back to China. We flew the women over to Thailand also, so we could do these different levels of helping these women reclaim their bodies and their souls, and recognizing that they were worthy just the way they were. And like that will be a highlight for the rest of my life of that experience.
That's just giving me chills. They're just, yeah, that's huge. That's beautiful work. Beautiful work. Because they're so repressed.
Yeah.
They just they don't have access to any freedom over there to explore their sexuality. So What a beautiful gift.
And there's no room for them. Like, as we're talking about the path of falling in love with yourself, like, you have to be able to have room to start creating what it is that you want, like to feel like that you're worthy, to feel like that your needs matter, that your wants matter. And so, and in China especially, it goes the dad, the kids, the dog, the elders, like the women are at the bottom of the totem pole. And so it's that's just an extreme example, but for all of you listening, like, that's the first step. Like, if you really want to start falling in love with yourself, then you need to figure out what's in the way of you being able to start recognizing and claiming your own wants and desires. Because the world says, oh, you need to be selfless, you need to be out there for everybody else. And guess what? Then you're depleted. Like, you actually can't be there for anybody until you start learning to be there for yourself first.
Absolutely. It is imperative. Yeah. So you've been developing all these beautiful trainings that you jump around the world doing. And I went to two of them last year. The women's facilitator, Tantra facilitator training, week long, which was just a beautiful dive with all those women. It was just so special. And then we did the energy sex facilitator training, which just energized me to no end. It actually, I found my flow of energy, and well, I had this massive flow of energy that I didn't know what to do with. And that workshop really helped me learn how to control it and move it and use it. And um, ah, it changed my life
Yeah.
in so many ways. So many ways. So tell us about some of the other workshops that you're doing. I know next week. Tell us about next week.
Well, the one that starts in a couple days that Debbie and her beautiful partner Dave are coming to, and a lot of our friends. I'm so excited. Like, there's so many facilitators, my facilitator friends that are coming, is called Awaken as Love. And one of my best friends on the planet, James Stevenson, created this. And it's a blend of shamanism, of Tantra, and of integral. And so you're able to bring your body, mind, heart, and soul embodiment. So a lot of people like will read Ken Wilber's books and this integral theory information, but it doesn't really translate to your body. And James is such a genius at bringing embodiment. So that's what I love, is that we get to go and use nature as our teacher. We get to use our body as our teacher. Like, we get to use each other as these beautiful mirrors to be able to start finding this path of awakening and evolving in love, because you can consciously evolve. And that's this whole week's about, oh, let's being aware so that we can include, instead of, oh, I'll take that, but not that. Oh, that's I used to be there, but now I'm here. And instead, it's allowing this overview of compassion for all of the levels that they all exist for a reason. And so, can I include and love them too?
I'm so excited. That's going to be just outstanding. And I love how he's bringing science and spirituality together.
Yes.
So there's something for everyone. I mean, that left brain person as well as that right brain, they can just really grasp onto something with this training and really pull it all together to get a more embodied experience of who they are in relationship to not only themselves and maybe their partner, but humanity in general. So yeah, it's going to be beautiful. And I know you do other trainings as well that I haven't had the ability to come to yet, but tell us some of the other ones that you have lined up for the rest of the year.
Well, the biggest training that I've done now, this will be the 8th year, is our Transformational Intensive for Extraordinary Facilitators. And I gathered together 7 or 8 of my top teachers and people that have been in this field, or people that are stepping into this field that I really resonate with the extraordinariness of their work. And so then we get together. We always have a small group of participants under 20 that get to come and get this really one-on-one work for them to facilitate. That it's not always wanting to facilitate groups or sessions. Sometimes it's just for them to be an extraordinary facilitator of their own life or of their lovership. But we also have there, because the skills will transfer across your life, but it's for people that want to do one-on-one sessions and group sessions, and both small and large groups. And so it's giving you all of these tools so that you can find, oh, I love this piece, I love this piece. Again, one of the most valuable things as you start learning to walk your path is to find the things that you don't want. And so we have this smorgasbord of, let's try this on and see what fits and what doesn't, and then let's dive deeper in the areas that do fit for you. So that, I love that. It's like a Monique boot camp, because so many people are like, I want to do what you do. And so I'm like, okay, let's get together for 7 days with the people that help me give permission for what I want to do, and let's give you permission to be all of you.
Wonderful. So when is that happening this year?
That's November 1st through 8th in Cabo, Mexico. This beautiful condos and private beach, and you've been there, you know how beautiful it is.
It's fantastic facility down there that you have, and I'm just so excited for you and your partner Peter, and this beautiful new adventure that you're getting down there, and just really moving forward with it. It's such a beautiful space to dive in, and then it's what, 5-minute walk from the ocean.
Yeah,
Right. And it's
have a naked pool and hot tub. You can
yes,
just be in the saltwater heated pool. Like, it's heaven.
it is heaven. And yes, I maybe need to come to that in November. So yeah.
On, Debbie.
So what else are you up to this year? Didn't I see a couple of other workshops that you have coming up?
The other piece that I love, and it's actually happening right after the Transformational Intensive, is our priestess initiation.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's for female-bodied humans, that they actually get to step into their priestess power. And it's where we combine medicine with tantra, with different aspects that were, and rituals that we're helping people fully. The first one's initiation, and then also once a year we have activation, where you've been initiated, and then you're like, okay, what's the power I'm bringing with me? And I love plant medicines a lot because they've done so much in my own path of, again, helping you see what's in the way. And so the particular plant we work with are mushrooms that both Taina and I and Taylor are all really, they've helped us. They've become our best friends. And we all know how to hold space on that to help people be able to recognize what's in the way and be able to tap into that birthright of source that we all have.
Yeah, it's powerful stuff. I love that work as well.
Yeah, I know you do.
Yeah, no, I've been stepping into that as well, and really finding that it just expands your awareness so much, and just gives you access to your higher self,
Yeah.
where you can really get the wisdom that you need to move forward.
Mm.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah, I just wake up feeling blessed to be alive, Debbie. Like, I sit here in the middle of any of the retreats. Like, we just did an intro to energy sex that was just a weekend, and there was this beautiful couple that was there, and the male partner just started sobbing like on day one, and got in touch with some really, really deep trauma of his little boy. And you could just see the whole room. Like, we listened to him and held space for him, and then I asked him, are you willing to go deeper? Are you willing to like step into the center of the room? And he was a yes. And so many people around, as we do, we want to take care of people, and they reach forward and they're like, oh, we got to help this person feel better. And by the end, as we were able to tap in to his little human, like the little child inside, and then bring him back to his adult self of who he was, then he was able to reparent in front of everybody this little human that had gone through that trauma. And it was just amazing to watch. Like, the seas parted and everybody sat back, and they all felt like permission to come back home to them, because he was fully taking care of himself. And like that, it just makes me cry. And I'm just those are the moments that I really live for, because I feel the ripple effect throughout the whole room, and I think throughout the world.
Absolutely, because when we do that kind of work, we do it for not just ourselves, but we do it for everyone. Because all of us have those wounds from our little girl or little boy that just wasn't seen or heard, or just was traumatized. And, it really takes going back and feeling it and shifting the trauma experience to to reprogram the DNA, right? It takes that trigger out. So you don't have to feel that way every time that situation comes up. It allows you to open doors and just diffuse the things that make you tight.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And when you really take the time to recognize that, yes, there's a part of you that's often trapped in that time and space because it didn't get what it needed then. But that's not all of you. There's part of you that's grown up, that's actually mature and can deal with that situation. And then you're able to go back and sit with that little one. Then there's just so much more room and space to be able to be all of you because you stop waiting for mommy, daddy, teacher, bishop, whatever to come and save you because you never needed saving in the first place. You just needed that witnessing and holding that really we can only give to ourselves.
Yeah. There's room for all parts of you, right? The wounded pieces, as well as the pieces that are fabulous. And just loving all parts of yourself, no matter how horrible they may seem. That's the beauty that allows the love in.
They're only horrible and they only act out if you're not able to befriend them.
Of
So
course.
the perpetrator, the rage, like all the pieces that we think are unacceptable and totally unlovable are the parts that want your love the most.
Yes. Agreed.
Mm.
Agreed. Ah, you are just such a magical woman. Is there anything else that you would like to tell us today?
The one thing that I like to offer my clients was like the big key for me when I was on the self-love path is I just kept feeling like I was failing. I still kept making these to-do lists. I was still trying to do something or be something, and that here was the gauge. If I could just do this, then I would be in love with myself. And I just kept wanting somebody else, something like there was always something that was in the way. And so there was just this moment where I was so frustrated, and there was just this voice that came to me that said, "Can you love the one that doesn't know how to love yet?" And that was enough because I could love that one, Debbie.
Oh,
And
wow.
that opened the doorway so that then I stopped beating myself up and stopped striving for this thing that eventually did happen, but I don't think it ever would have happened had I continued to strive for it. So wherever you are on your path, can you just open up and find that place of, can I love the one that doesn't know how to love me yet?
Mm, mm, that's beautiful.
Mhm.
So do you do coaching?
Well, I do private sessions. Like I don't have time to do like online or the different like ongoing coaching where a lot
Okay.
of so, but I do one-on-one sessions in the different arenas that I go to. And
Okay.
but my preferential way is to offer group settings. Like I like my magic just flows through in group. So every once in a while, if you're in a group area and you got come to me and your soul's asking for a session, then I'll do session work. But it's more like come experience the magic with me and my co-facilitators, because in that group space, then you're all doing the work for each other. And then there's plenty of my friends that I recommend that you can go to and get that ongoing coaching from. Debbie's one, Kathleen, Tahina, like there's many of those beautiful coaches out there. That's just not where my priority is right now.
So where in America are you going next?
Well, I'll follow you back to San Diego for a couple of days.
Uh-huh.
And if you have heard of Destin Garrick, like he's been one of my dear friends almost from the beginning of this journey. And he stopped doing live events for a while because he's a daddy of 2 young children now. And so we do this art of adoration ceremony that is like the actual ceremony that helps you fall in love with yourself. And
It,
we're doing
mm,
for the first time in 6 years together in San Diego on the 27th.
beautiful. Yes, we're gonna try to come to that. And then where do you go after that?
There's well, then I go to Europe for a couple of months and then we come back to here. We have Vegas and San Diego. My main spots are Mexico and San Diego, Austin, and DC. And you can find my whole calendar at everydaytantra.com.
Yes, yes, I was definitely. I will put a link in our in the YouTube and on the Facebook page with website so people can contact you there. And you have just a beautiful, huge following on Facebook as well. And I just love your expression, which Monique is on Facebook almost daily and just pours her heart out to everyone on there. And she lights me up. She always has these amazing photos from all over the globe and just shows joy. I love the joy that flows from your body, and it flows to everyone around you. And I see people walk in when they see this woman and they just run up to her and embrace her. And they are the most important person in the world to her at that moment, because she just really reaches up and touches you at a very deep level. And it's just, thank you, Monique, for your heart and your beautiful presence in this world.
Thank you, Debbie.
And this means so much to me.
I can't wait
so much.
tomorrow.
Yes, I get to see you tomorrow. And I know it's not quite an hour, but I'm feeling like we have just have had a great discussion here. And I think I totally screwed up and didn't go live. But I will launch this recording for everyone to see right away. And I am super grateful for you. You are just a love. And I highly recommend anyone that wants to fall deeper in love with yourself, come to one of Monique's events and see how beautiful the world can be.
Well, if the live got screwed up, it just means you have to invite me back.
Yes, I do. Yes. And we will do it again. Absolutely.
I love you, honey.
I love you. Mwah.
Thank you, everybody that will watch this. And please, please, please just find those little ways. Like, how can you give yourself? No, that's the last piece I'll leave you is when I went to my first ayahuasca ceremony, then the beautiful beloved was leading the medicine circle, and he's like, can you just give yourself a night? And there were many people that could totally do that, and at that point on my journey I couldn't. And so he came over halfway through. Again, it was when I was still beating myself up, and I'm like, oh, why can't I just love me? And he's like, okay, how about an hour? Can you do it for an hour, Monique? Then he comes minutes later, he's like, okay, I see you can't. That's okay. I love you. He's like, how about 2 minutes? He's like, let's set the timer for 2 minutes. And I was able to be just with myself, not affected by anybody else for 2 minutes. So just start where you're at without beating yourself up. And it's like, can I just give myself the next 2 minutes just for me, and then build on that?
Beautiful. Beautiful. A perfect way to start.
I
love you so much. I'll see you tomorrow, my love. Okay. Thank
Bye.
you. That's everydaytantra.com.
Yes.
Darling.
Thank you, love.